The Man Who Ordered a Reclining Coffin by J.W. Wallis. Clarence McGinty had always been a man of peculiar logic, the kind that made his neighbors shake their heads one moment and nod in agreement the next. He was part philosopher, part comedian, and wholly unpredictable. In his younger years, Clarence had been the kind of fellow who could fix a tractor with a piece of wire and a prayer, who whistled hymns while mowing, and who believed that if you couldn't laugh at life, it'd get the last laugh on you. But time, like it does to all good men, had played its tricks. By the time Clarence hit 83, a neurological disease had reshaped his body into something of a question mark. Shoulders curved, back bowed, and knees that refused to straighten. "Guess the good Lord's got me marked for punctuation," he'd tell the doctor, "just waiting for the period." The disease had confined him mostly to a sitting position. Lying flat was as out of the question as running a marathon. But Clarence was not one to despair. "Every saint's got a cross to carry," he said. "Mine just happens to have cushions." One evening, while his daughter Millie was sorting his bills at the kitchen table, Clarence made an announcement that startled her so much she dropped her pen. "Millie, I've decided to go ahead and pick out my coffin." She looked at him horrified. "Daddy, that's morbid." "Not morbid," he said, sipping his sweet tea. "Efficient. I figure if I pick it now, y'all won't waste good money on one of them velvet-lined hotel rooms. For the dearly departed, I've never been comfortable in a bed, and I don't intend to start now." Millie blinked. "So what exactly are you planning to do?" "Get me a coffin that fits my shape," he said proudly. "One that lets me sit up straight and smile on the way to glory." The search begins. The next morning, Millie drove her daddy to Peaceful Rest Caskets and Memorials, a place with too much lavender carpet and too little sense of humor. A young salesman named Toby greeted them with a grin that looked practiced in the mirror. "Good morning, Mr. McGinty. We specialize in comfort, dignity, and everlasting rest." Clarence studied him. "Well, son, I ain't after rest. I've been sitting half my life. I just want to go out the same way I came in, upright and smiling." Toby blinked. "You mean you want a coffin chair?" "Now you're catching on. I've got this shape the good Lord saw fit to leave me in, and I'd hate to fight it one last time. You got one shaped like a recliner? Maybe with a lever." Millie buried her face in her hands. "Daddy, please." But Clarence wasn't kidding. He began to describe his ideal, final chair with the detail of a man designing his dream car. "Mahogany, but not too shiny. Cup holder for communion juice, if you offer that sort of thing. Cushion firm enough that my back don't complain, but soft enough I can nap through the sermon." Toby's eyebrows rose so high they almost joined his hairline. "Sir, we've never built anything like that before." "Then you're about to make history," Clarence said, tapping the counter. "You can call it the Sit and Rest Eternal. Put my name on the prototype." Word gets around. News traveled fast in Maple Hollow. By the next week, the story of Clarence's reclining coffin was the talk of the diner, the barbershop, and both Baptist churches. One old friend called him up and said, "Clarence, I heard you're sitting your way to heaven." "That's right," Clarence chuckled. "Why lie flat when eternity's got no curfew?" Soon, the funeral home began receiving curious calls from other senior citizens. "Y'all taking pre-orders for that sit and rest model?" "Can mine have a footrest?" "Do you offer Bluetooth speakers for hymns?" Even Pastor Hill stopped by, more amused than offended. "Clarence, you're setting trends in the afterlife industry." Clarence winked. "Just trying to make the resurrection easier, preacher. Lord says the dead will rise. I'm just getting a head start." The great reveal. 2 months later, the coffin chair was finished. Toby himself invited Clarence to the unveiling. It was quite the sight. Dark walnut wood, gently curved seat, padded armrests, and a headrest that cradled him like a prayer. A small brass plaque read, "Clarence McGinty, upright before the Lord." Clarence settled into it with a satisfied sigh. "Well, son, I gotta hand it to you. You built me the most comfortable seat in the afterlife. Only thing missing is a cup of coffee and the morning paper. When he finally passed, peacefully in his favorite chair, the town turned out for the funeral, curious to see the man who refused to lie down, even in death. There he was, sitting tall in his coffin chair, dressed in his Sunday best, with that familiar mischievous grin still on his face. The preacher began the eulogy, then paused and looked at Clarence. "I reckon old Clarence beat us all to the punch. He's sittin' in heavenly places already." The congregation chuckled softly, and Millie whispered, "Daddy always said he'd face the Lord eye to eye." And somewhere, if laughter echoes beyond the veil, you can be sure Clarence McGinty was chuckling, upright, at ease, and finally at rest in the most comfortable chair heaven ever saw, listening to his favorite earthly story. Put the hearse in reverse, I want to live again.
No one's listening to my pleas, I guess I go unheard. For all the talking that I'm doing, they can't hear a single word. We've just reached the graveyard and now we're turning in. Put the hearse in reverse and let me live again. Oh, put the hearse in reverse, I want to live again. There's lots of things that I haven't done and towns I haven't been. Please don't bury me in this box I'm lying in. Put the hearse in reverse, 'cause I want to live again.